America didn't just fight the Vietnam War with soldiers and rifles. It fought it with intelligence, machines, science, engineering, strategic vision, and technological ambition that no nation on Earth could match at that time. While the dense jungles of Southeast Asia concealed enemy movements, and the war itself seemed chaotic, unpredictable, and impossible to control, the United States was building something unprecedented beneath the surface of history, a hidden, digital battlefield operating inside one of the most hostile environments on the planet. Between 1968 and 1973, deep inside the jungles of Vietnam, Laos, and neighboring regions, America launched one of the most ambitious, expensive, and secret technological operations ever created in military history. Funded with nearly $1 billion per year, powered by cutting-edge computing systems, and designed by the brightest scientific and engineering minds of the era, this operation was not meant to fight the war in a traditional sense. It was meant to reshape it entirely. It was not built for soldiers to conquer territory, but for systems to dominate information. It was not designed to fire bullets, but to control movement, prediction, and intelligence. Its purpose was not destruction alone, but transformation. Its name was Operation Igloo White, and it marked the moment when warfare crossed the invisible line between human combat and digital domination. The Ho Chi Minh Trail was not a single road, not a simple path, and not a conventional supply line. It was a living, breathing network of supply routes, hidden bases, underground hospitals, bunkers, command centers, storage zones, tunnels, and fortified positions buried beneath dense jungle canopy, stretching for thousands of kilometers across Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. It allowed North Vietnamese forces to move weapons, ammunition, food, fuel, equipment, and troops invisibly through terrain that made traditional warfare nearly impossible. Thick jungle cover, complex terrain, and natural camouflage made the network almost invisible from the air and nearly impossible to fully map from the ground. For years, this system resisted bombs, patrols, raids, and surveillance efforts. It adapted, expanded, and evolved faster than conventional military strategies could respond. But American strategy evolved as well. Instead of relying only on air power, troop deployment, and brute force, the United States turned to technology as a strategic weapon. Scientists, engineers, military planners, intelligence analysts, and defense researchers were brought together to create a new kind of battlefield, one where machines would see what humans could not, where data would replace eyesight, where algorithms would replace intuition, and where digital systems would guide military decisions. Thousands of electronic sensors were dropped into the jungle, disguised as plants, branches, rocks, and natural vegetation. Some detected vibrations from footsteps and trucks. Others listened for voices and movement. Others sensed metal and equipment. And one model could even detect chemical traces of human sweat and urine. The jungle itself was transformed into a living surveillance network, and every movement within it became data. That data did not go to soldiers in the field. It went to machines. Aircraft circling overhead relayed the signals to a massive secret facility in Thailand, a heavily secured installation built specifically to process battlefield intelligence. Inside this facility were powerful IBM supercomputers, among the most advanced machines on Earth at the time, operating in real time to analyze information streams from the jungle. These systems mapped enemy movement patterns, identified logistical routes, tracked supply flows, and generated predictive models of future movements across the Ho Chi Minh Trail network. For the first time in human history, war was being guided by digital intelligence systems. Rather than human eyesight alone, decisions were shaped by data. Targets were selected by algorithms. Operations were informed by machine analysis. The jungle itself had become a controlled surveillance grid powered by American technology. This invisible battlefield produced real-world consequences. In December 1970, sensor data revealed heavy vehicle movement in Laos, leading American pilots to a massive hidden supply base. The strikes that followed destroyed dozens of trucks, thousands of rounds of ammunition, fuel depots, supply warehouses, and storage facilities, all located not by scouts, spies, or patrols, but by machines buried beneath jungle soil, silently transmitting data through the air. Eventually, North Vietnamese forces discovered the existence of the system and began to fight it with deception, adaptation, and counterintelligence. Sensors were destroyed, false signals were created, animals were dragged through detection zones to simulate movement. Containers of urine were hung in trees to confuse chemical detection systems. What followed was no longer just a military conflict, but a technological war of intelligence versus adaptation. Systems versus improvisation, machines versus human creativity. Operation Igloo White cost nearly $1 billion per year, making it one of the most expensive surveillance operations ever created in history. Critics questioned its efficiency and long-term effectiveness. Supporters pointed to its massive impact on enemy logistics and supply disruption. But beyond the debate over success or failure, its legacy is undeniable. This operation laid the foundation for modern military surveillance systems, drone warfare, satellite monitoring, AI-assisted intelligence platforms, digital battlefield management, predictive warfare modeling, and algorithmic decision systems. The architecture of modern warfare was born not in a laboratory, not in a city, and not in a research facility, but deep inside the jungles of Vietnam. The Vietnam War is often remembered for its chaos, its complexity, its political tension, and its human tragedy. But hidden behind headlines, narratives, and history books is another story, a story of American innovation, technological dominance, scientific ambition, and strategic vision that reshaped warfare forever. Operation Igloo White was not just a military operation. It was not just a surveillance project. It was not just an intelligence experiment. It was the birth of the digital battlefield. It was the moment when war transitioned from human perception to machine intelligence. It proved that in modern conflict, the most powerful weapon is not always the soldier, not always the aircraft, not always the bomb, and not always the army. It is the system.